Breaking news this morning. In the last hour, the Supreme Court handed down two major rulings. The first struck down President Biden's student debt forgiveness program. Good morning. I'm Channing Curtis.
And I'm Tim Pham. Now the other big one, the second one, rules in favor of a Colorado woman and her right to free speech. KREM 2's Nicole Hernandez has been following all the cases for us all morning long. So Nicole, tell us more about the justices' decisions. Good morning.
Tim Channing, good morning. So the Supreme Court, like you mentioned, released their decision on two major cases this morning. In the last 30 minutes, though, they released their decision ultimately blocking President Joe Biden's billions of dollar plan for student loan relief. Chief Justice Roberts ultimately wrote that majority opinion here saying, one, the states do have the authority to challenge the program, and two, the court agrees with that challenge. President Biden had used the HEROES Act to give him the authority for this debt forgiveness, but the court says he does not have that power. Chief Justice Roberts wrote, quote, "The HEROES Act allows the Secretary to waive or modify existing statutory or regulatory provisions applicable to financial assistance programs under the Education Act, not to rewrite that statute from the ground up," end quote. The court made this decision in a 6-3 vote here. Justice Kagan wrote the dissenting opinion. He wrote, quote, "The court's first overreach in this case is deciding it at all. Under Article 3 of the Constitution, a plaintiff must have a standing to challenge a government action, and that requires a personal stake or injury in fact." He continued to say the HEROES Act does actually give President Biden the power to give relief to student loan borrowers in an emergency, and that emergency in this case being the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, in the other decision of the morning, the Supreme Court said a Colorado website designer is able to deny services to gay couples. The Supreme Court said forcing the designer to create websites she does not agree with breaks her First Amendment right to free speech. They say the art she creates for her wedding website is expressive and qualifies as peer speech, and that means it's protected under the First Amendment. Justice Gorsuch wrote the majority opinion for this case. He said, quote, "All manner of speech, from pictures, films, paintings, drawings, and engravings to oral utterance and the printed word, qualify for First Amendment protections. No less can hold true when it comes to speech like Ms. Smith's conveyed over the internet," end quote. The court made this decision again in a 6-3 vote. The dissenting judges say this decision goes against public accommodation laws, which make sure anyone can have full access to public accommodations without discrimination. In a dissenting opinion, Justice Sotomayor wrote, quote, "Around the country there has been a backlash to the movement for liberty and equality for gender and sexual minorities. New forms of inclusion have been met with reactionary exclusion. This is heartbreaking," end quote. Now, with these rulings, that is the final thing we were waiting for on the Supreme Court. Now the court goes into their summer recess. In Spokane, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.